The Specialized Turbo Levo was one of the first truly successful electric mountain bikes, and its lighter weight cousin, the Levo SL, forged a path for these super light e-bikes that are continuing to grow in popularity. For 2023, Specialized has gone back to the drawing board with its latest Turbo Levo SL with a comprehensive redesign. The new frame does away with the distinctive front triangle sidearm and includes a Turbo SL 1.2 motor with more power and torque, all while making less noise. It all sounds too good to be true. But is it? We've been riding it to find out. But before I reveal if this bike lives up to the hype, make sure you subscribe if you like our independent reviews. Let's start with that new frame and motor. Not only is the frame aesthetically different, but the redesign has also increased the bike's versatility with even more geometry adjustments. Specialized has also incorporated the bike into its S sizing system, giving you more options to get a size that fits your needs. The bike delivers 150mm of rear wheel travel paired to a 160mm travel fork, and a stock comes set up with mixed wheel sizes rather than the full 29er setup of the old bike. As mentioned, the Levo SL also uses the new Turbo SL 1.2 motor under the hood that delivers a claimed 33% more power, 43% more torque, and a perceived noise reduction of 34 to 45% compared to the SL 1.1 motor. That translates to 50 Nm of torque with a peak power output of 320 watts, compared to the older motor which provided 35 Nm and 240 watts of assistance. This is more in line with other current lightweight e-bike motors, such as the TQ HPR50 and the Fazawa Ride 60. The battery used on the Turbo Levo SL Gen 2 is also bigger at 320 watts. As before, the battery is non-removable. You can also add a 160 Wh range extender that fits into the bike's bottle cage for a maximum of 480 Wh capacity, but that does mean that you can't use the cage for a water bottle. A few more details include a new two-piece motor housing with integrated honeycomb structure to help dissipate noise and a new gearbox design to help reduce noise even further. The motor is IP67 rated, meaning it can be submerged in up to 1 metre of water for 30 minutes, so it's not going to shy away from those trail centre jet washes. Specialized hasn't presented a weight for the motor on its own, but we do know a size S4 S-Works Turbo Levo SL weighs 17.67 kilograms, so it can't be too heavy. The drive unit has 5 modes: Eco, Trail, Turbo, Walk, as well as Micro-Tune. Eco, Trail and Turbo are preset power modes that can be adjusted in Specialized Mission Control app. Micro-Tune is a mode that can be used to change the power output in 10% jumps, so you can tailor the power to suit your ride and situation. At the heart of the bike's rider interaction is Specialized Mastermind TCU or Turbo Control Unit. This fits neatly into the top tube and can display a variety of information, including the different modes, battery range and other performance metrics. Updates to the system can be downloaded and installed over air via the Mission Control app, so no need to connect anything to the bike to keep it up to date with all the latest system updates. While the Turbo Levo SL is obviously heavier than a normal bike, it's still a bike that needs to be agile enough to be ridden hard and enjoyed. This is where Specialized claims to have spent a lot of its time in an aim to improve rider experience on the trail. The frames use Specialized Fat 11 carbon fibre, and they have tuned the whole chassis under their rider-first engineering process to make sure that each of the 6 frame sizes deliver the same on-trail experience. Going back to the sidebar of the old bike, Specialized says it's been removed to save weight, all while still meeting its stiffness needs as the frames grow longer in reach with the updated geometry. SRAM's T-Type transmission features on the S-Works build, and as such, all frames use a UDH or Universal Derailleur Hanger interface. Thankfully, one thing that's missing from the latest Turbo Levo SL is internal cable routing through the headset. The less of that, the better, please, bike industry. Onto suspension, and Specialized has reworked the kinematics and shocks to try and keep the rear end plush, while still being playful and engaging on flowing terrain. To help achieve this, there's a slightly more rearward axle path to help with bump absorption, as well as higher anti-squat numbers to give the bike a more stable pedalling platform. Befitting of a bike that's capable of being ridden pretty damn hard, the new frame, except for the S1 size, is also compatible with coil shocks. You can't talk about a new bike release these days without talking about geometry, and with the new Levo SL, there's plenty to talk about. This is the last bike to move over to Specialized S sizing concept, and is available in 6 sizes from the smallest S1 through to the largest S6. For those that aren't aware, S sizing frames are built with similar standover heights but lengthening front centres. If you prefer a shorter, more playful bike, then you can choose a smaller size. On the other hand, if you like a more stable planted feel, you can size up to a bigger frame. Most riders should have at least 2 and maybe even 3 sizes to choose from with this system. While the S2 and S6 have 160mm forks and 150mm of rear wheel travel, the S1 has a 150mm fork and 144mm of rear travel to maximise standover height for smaller riders. Par for the course, the Turbo Levo SL has been updated with the usual longer, lower and slacker treatment and has stacks of adjustability, just like on the Specialized Stump Jumper Evo. Reach numbers range from 405mm on the S1 through to a gargantuan 525mm on the S6. If we take the S4 to represent the old size large, then the reach is 15mm longer at 470mm compared to 455. In the stock geometry setting, the head angle is now 64.5 degrees, a whole 1.5 degrees slacker than the old bike. The effective seat tube angle is a not so steep 75.8 degrees across all sizes. This is 1.2 degrees slacker than the previous bike, while the chainstay lengths are a nimble 432mm across all sizes, so pretty short for an e-bike. If you're not satisfied with those dimensions, the Levo SL has a few tricks up its sleeve so you can tailor the bike to suit your riding style and needs. The bike comes with a 1 degree headset cup that you can swap to steepen or slacken the head tube angle. There's also a flip chip in the shock yoke. The bike comes in the low setting as standard, but you can switch this to raise the bottom bracket by 5mm and steepen the head tube and effective seat tube angles by approximately half a degree. There is a second flip chip at the horse link pivot on the chainstays. This allows you to run a 29-inch rear wheel while keeping the geometry as standard. However, it does add 10mm to the chainstay length, bringing them to 443mm. All these combinations give 12 geometry positions, so there's a lot of adjustability. For full details of the geometry, check out the first ride review on BikeRadar.com with the link in the description. So far, Specialized are releasing 3 models of the new Turbo Levo SL. Specs and international pricing are to be confirmed, but here's what we know so far. The entry-level Turbo Levo SL Comp comes in at £7,000. The Turbo Levo SL Pro comes in at £10,250. And the range-topping Turbo Levo SL S-Works is a mind-boggling £13,000. The good news is that prices haven't increased over the old models, and shockingly for the bike industry in 2023, the S-Works model is actually £700 cheaper than previously, despite coming with that new XXT type transmission. We don't have any US or international pricing at the time of filming, so check out that story on the website for more details. We were invited by Specialized to the UK's media camp for the new Levo SL in not so sunny Wales, taking in some of Coedy Brennan's lesser known trails as well as some natural winch and plummet lines in Diffie Forest. Conditions were typically Welsh, i.e. wet. Very wet. From the first pedal strokes, it's noticeable how quiet the motor is in eco and trail modes. There's a small hum in turbo, but it's a lot quieter than a standard full power e-bike motor. That new gearbox and casing seem to do the trick. It might sound odd, but a second point that caught our attention was how sociable most of the climbs are with this bike. You can't use this bike to race to the top as fast as possible as you might like on a more powerful e-bike. Despite this, the motor has more than enough power to take the sting out of climbing in all modes. Setting the turbo mode to 100% to give the full 50 Nm of torque and 320 watts of assistance, there's enough punch in the motor to grind up some pretty savage climbs. We negotiated some properly steep technical terrain and were thoroughly impressed with the performance from the motor. While the effective seat tube angle isn't as steep as most bikes released in the last year, and the chainstays on the mixed wheel bike are fairly short, it's still easy to keep the front wheel tracking on steep climbs, and we didn't feel like the bike was going to loop out. This might be due to the middling reach values that contribute to a moderately long top tube length that keeps your weight over the front wheel. You'll still need to lean forwards a little, but it'll be less exaggerated than a regular bike. The suspension was supple enough to provide plenty of traction when climbing wet and rocky slopes without sapping energy from the motor or rider. On smoother trails, it's very easy to reach the shock's climb switch to maximise efficiency. Still, you could easily ride with the shock open for climbing and descending and not have to worry about excessive pedal bob. That's how the Turbo Levo SL fared going up, but how did it match up when you point it downhill? We weighed the size S4 S-Works model that we were testing at 17.67 kilograms without pedals, which isn't far off that of some of the heavier duty trail bikes out there without battery powered assistance. Once you're on the trails and with gravity giving you a helping hand, that weight is pretty much unnoticeable, and it's actually hard to tell that you're on an e-bike at all. It didn't take any more input to move the bike around out on the trail, and braking points weren't particularly different, which we definitely notice on e-bikes weighing over the 20 kilogram mark. The fact that the weight sits low in the frame helps keep the bike stable and provides a feeling the bike is hunkered down to the ground. And while it's only marginal, the extra sprung mass does seem to help reduce trail buzz and vibrations coming through the suspension. The times we really noticed we were on an e-bike were on moderately flat trails where you're above the motor cutout speed, but still need to pedal to keep up your momentum. These sections of trail seemed a little harder work compared to keeping and generating speed on normal bikes, even if the weights are within 1 or 2 kilograms of each other. The handling of the Levo SL is certainly very impressive. We rode one day with the stock headset cups at 64.5 degrees and the other with the -1 degree cups that changed the head tube angle to 63.5 degrees. There wasn't a huge change in handling feel, and in both settings the overall handling of the bike was very fun and agile. We were able to weave through awkward sections of trail without hesitation, and it didn't take much effort to position the bike precisely where we wanted. The suspension performance was impressive too, and Specialized has managed to balance a supple beginning stroke with support deeper in the travel without a harsh ramp up at the end. As mentioned before, whether through chassis design, suspension tuning, or the sprung to unsprung weight ratio, but most probably a combination of all three, the bike is very composed on the trail and transfers little feedback to the rider. This allowed us to feel extremely comfortable and confident very quickly, and push the bike hard pretty much from the get-go to take advantage of the engaging ride character. As a trail bike goes, this is a great all-rounder, and one we're very much looking forward to spending more time on, so stay tuned for a longer term review on the channel and BikeRadar.com. We'd love to know what you think. Are lightweight e-bikes like the Levo SL the future, or are they going to have to prise your acoustic bike from your cold, lifeless corpse? Let us know in the comments, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and if you want more e-bike controversy, then check out this video.